everyone? My name is Jemai McKinney, or you can just call me Juice, because that is my nickname. Today, I am previewing and breaking down how I believe the first round of the 2020 NBA playoffs is going to play out. So without further ado, let's get right to it. I'm very excited to break down these series for you guys right here. So let's talk about Portland versus Los Angeles. LeBron James going up against Damian Lillard. And I have the Lakers winning in 6 games. Now, let me say this before I go on my point as to why I would favor the Lakers in this matchup. Portland is not your normal AFC. They are not. Don't be fooled by the 35-39 record. In fact, I won't be shocked if Portland pulls off the upset in this matchup, okay? This is a team last year that was in the Western Conference Finals. The reason their record is below 500 at the moment is because they've had to deal with a ton of injuries throughout the entire season. But now they are a fully healthy and loaded squad, and they are ready to roll. They've got all their bigs back, including Zach Collins, including Jokic, who went off last game, man. And listen, the Los Angeles Lakers have not played particularly well in this bubble. I've not been very impressed with the Lakers. Statistically, they've not been very good offensively. If you look at the stats and things of that nature, LeBron James has kind of yet to get into a rhythm. Anthony Davis has been hot and cold. I've never been completely sold on the Lakers overall supporting cast when we're talking about the other players outside of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But I will say this, Portland's defense is very concerning. I just think the Lakers, they have enough size to match up with Portland defensively. I just can't quite pick Portland to beat this Los Angeles Lakers team led by LeBron James and Anthony Davis 4 times in a best-of-7 series. I just think the Lakers are a better overall, well-rounded team. I don't think the Lakers are all that explosive offensively. So if Damian Lillard goes off along with CJ McCollum, if they outplay LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the series, Portland is going to win because they have a ton of really good shooters. Carmelo Anthony's playing very well. Gary Trent Jr. has provided a very good spark to this team. But overall, I'm going to go with the Lakers to win in 6 games over the Portland Trailblazers. Okay, up next, I'm going to preview and break down the Milwaukee Bucks versus Orlando Magic series. I believe this is actually going to be a sweep. I just don't think the Orlando Magic have the horses to beat Milwaukee. I think that this is going to be a 4-game sweep. The Milwaukee Bucks have the best record in the NBA at the moment. They're great on defense. They're great on offense. Orlando's a 33-40 team as far as their record goes. Vucevic deserves our respect. He's averaging 19 points per game this year. Aaron Gordon is having a solid season, but no more Jonathan Isaac for the season for this team. He definitely affects them as far as, their versatility on defense. Giannis Antetokounmpo is playing very, very well this season. He's going to win the league MVP in my opinion. He should win the league MVP in my opinion. Milwaukee has not been playing particularly great during this NBA bubble, but they also have not been playing god-awful. And I think that Milwaukee is going to finally turn it on, and they will sweep the Orlando Magic. So I have Milwaukee winning this series in 4 games. Up next, Clippers versus Mavericks. I'm going to go with the Clippers to win this series right here. The Clippers are now finally fully healthy. They're ready to go. And I understand that they've been kind of low managing all season. They haven't really turned on the switch yet. But ultimately, I feel that chemistry in the NBA is overrated. Ultimately, what wins in the NBA is talent. And talent is going to outweigh the Clippers' lack of chemistry, at least in the first round up to this point. I have the Clippers beating the Mavericks in 5 games. The Dallas Mavericks, to me, are about a year or 2 away from really popping. I love Luka Doncic. I'm excited to watch him play. Kristaps Porzingis is a very good, second option for Luka Doncic and this team. Dallas is going to put up some points. They're going to put up some points. They're going to score a lot, but they cannot stop a nosebleed on defense. Their defense has been kind of borderline atrocious during this NBA bubble, and really throughout the season, they've been very inconsistent on defense and things of that nature. And also, Dallas is just one of those teams that really struggles to close out very close, tight games. Okay, they've really struggled as far as winning close games throughout the season and during the NBA bubble. I believe the Clippers' depth, experience, and their length on defense will prove to be the difference in this matchup. Kawhi Leonard is the best player in this series, and I think the Clippers are going to win in 5 games. Up next, Boston and Philly. Now, Philadelphia's kind of been a mess all year. I've said for a while that Philadelphia is the most overrated team in the NBA, and I'm going to stick with that premise at this moment. They don't have Ben Simmons at the moment, he's injured, they did not have great chemistry with Ben Simmons. Now you're losing a very key player that was a part of your starting lineup. Now you're going to have to adjust on the fly once again, and things of that nature. So yeah, man, I'm not buying the Sixers. They don't have a whole lot of great shooters. They're not very explosive offensively. And one thing that has been proven true so far during this NBA bubble is there's not a whole lot of defense being played. So while Philadelphia's identity lies on defense, I just have not seen a whole lot of defense being played in this NBA bubble, and that includes from Philadelphia. Like I said, just not a very good overall, well-rounded team. Philadelphia's talented, but as far as how they're constructed as a team, as far as how they play as a cohesive unit, I just don't see it. I think Boston is the more complete team. They got better shooters. They've got a better offense. Jason Tatum's playing well. They got 4 guys that can give me 20 points per game each night in Gordon Hayward, in Jason Tatum, like I said, in Kemba Walker, and Jaylen Brown. They got the better coach in this matchup. And listen, Boston, they've had good chemistry all year. Now, I will say, Philadelphia could bother Boston due to Boston's lack of size down low. I do expect Joel Embiid to play very well during this series, but overall, Philadelphia, they don't have the horses to win this series versus Boston. I just think Boston's going to win in 6 games. Okay, up next, we're going to talk about the Houston Rockets versus Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm actually going to pick Houston to win in 7 games. And I understand that Russell Westbrook is, at the moment, injured. I understand that. He's dealing with a quad injury. And Russell Westbrook may not even play during this series, depending on how his injury, plays out over the next couple of days. He, as of right now, is day to day. He could return for the playoffs. He could not return for the playoffs. But I will say, I think Houston is a good enough team to get by at least in the first round. I have Houston winning in 7 games. Now, I will say Russell Westbrook, he definitely is a huge loss for this team. If they're not gonna have Russell Westbrook for this entire series, that gives Oklahoma City a huge advantage because Russell Westbrook provides such great energy to this team. He is able to, push the pace up the floor on the fast break. He takes pressure off James Harden, and when Russell Westbrook puts his mind to it, he plays very good defense. Also, this affects the Houston Rockets bench because now Aaron Gordon is going to be inserted into the starting role for this team. He's going to be in the starting lineup, okay? That's a huge blow to their bench. And I will say Steven Adams provides some size down low for OKC. They got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's having an excellent second season in the NBA. Gallinari deserves our respect, along with CP3, who's been an MVP candidate this year. But I just think Houston is overall the more complete team, even without Russell Westbrook. I think Oklahoma City is a very good, well-rounded team, but not a great team. And I think that they're more built for the regular season. I don't think Oklahoma City is built for the playoffs. They're scrappy, they're gritty, they're going to play hard, they're going to be well coached by Billy Donovan, but ultimately, I just think Houston's the more talented team, and I think James Harden is good enough to carry Houston at least in the first round of the playoffs. I think that James Harden is going to have a very good series, and he will Houston over Oklahoma City in 7 games. Toronto versus Brooklyn. I have Toronto winning in 5. My Brooklyn Nets, we've kind of had an up and down season. Obviously, no Kevin Durant all season. Kyrie Irving has missed games. He's not playing in the NBA bubble. We've had some injuries, and things of that nature. But I do think that Brooklyn will make this series somewhat competitive. I think that they will at least get 1 game on Toronto. My Brooklyn Nets have actually played fairly well during this NBA bubble. They got a good win versus the Bucks and the Clippers. They nearly beat the Portland Trailblazers, and Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, along with Jared Allen and some other very good players deserve, your respect, okay? You better not sleep on those guys, okay? But next year really is the year for my Nets to pop. Defensively, the Brooklyn Nets just don't really match up very well with Toronto. Toronto is the defending NBA champions for a reason. Obviously, they don't have Kawhi Leonard on the roster anymore, but still, they're a very deep team. They're well coached. They've got a lot of length, and I expect them to beat my Brooklyn Nets in 5 games, sadly, okay? Up next, Jazz versus Nuggets. I was tempted to pick the Nuggets to win in 5 games, but I decided to show the Utah Jazz some respect. I think that the Denver Nuggets are going to win in 6 games. Obviously, the loss of Bojan Bogdanovic has been a huge loss for this Jazz team. He definitely would be a huge difference maker in this series, but he's not going to be playing. He has not been playing for a while. Obviously, you got Joe Ingles, you got Donovan Mitchell, you got Rudy Gobert, who definitely can challenge Nikola Jokic down low and, make life hard for him. But I think Denver is just a more well-rounded team. They're deeper. And Michael Porter Jr. has provided a huge spark for this, Denver Nuggets team. He's averaging 24 points per game, roughly, in his last 6 games during the NBA bubble. He's played very, very well. He's a good young player. I think that Denver overall is going to win this series. They're just a more well-rounded team. They're better than Utah. I have Denver winning in 6 games. Last but not least, the Miami Heat versus Indiana Pacers. I believe this series goes 6 games in favor of Miami. The Miami Heat, I think they're built for the playoffs. I think that Indiana is very similar to OKC in the sense that they're built for the regular season, but not for the playoffs. I think that Indiana is not going to be able to make enough adjustments versus a more talented team in Miami, in my opinion. I just think Miami's a better team overall. Now, I will say, the Pacers do have a chance to make things interesting, They beat the Lakers during the NBA bubble. They just beat Miami in the most recent matchup between the two teams, 109-92. But overall, I think that Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Herro, Kendrick Nunn, along with Eric Spoelstra coaching this team, they will prevail. And I think that Miami is going to beat Indiana in 6 games. Outside of TJ Warren, I just don't think that Indiana has enough firepower on offense. And I think that Miami's talent, along with their very good defense, is going to outweigh Indiana and their overall team in this series. I believe that Miami wins in 6 games. So there you have it. Those are my predictions for the first round of the NBA playoffs. Be sure, if you're watching on YouTube, to leave a comment and tell me who you think is going to win each of these first round matchups, who's going to win each series, and how many games. Let me know in the comment section. Love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, be sure to subscribe to the Juice Alert on podcasting platforms, as well as on YouTube if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I currently am a freshman there right now. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.